The Sun Vanished is a horror ARG Twitter account chronicling a world where the sun disappears and reality spirals into madness. Why is it that when something disappears we start to notice everything else crumbling? The Sun Vanished didn't just tell a story, it peeled skin off the psyche like duct tape on a sunburn. It began as tweets, just tweets. The sun didn't come up today, that's all. And yet I felt that tweet in my spinal fluid. The brilliance it used: absence as the main character, no sun, no context, no hand-holding, just darkness, literal and figurative. And in that darkness, normal people started doing what they do best: break. The narrator, trapped in his home, is being hunted by silent people with glowing eyes. Radios begin emitting static drenched in cosmic dread. People are either possessed, suicidal, or disturbingly cheerful, which in this universe is the same thing. The world of TSV is like if Twitter got possessed by the thing. Every update was a Rorschach test of paranoia. Is this an alien invasion, a government psyop, God giving up? You'd scroll through his tweets like you were reading someone's diary, written in blood, sweat, and trauma-induced incoherence. The pacing felt like insomnia, desperate, jittery, slightly high on fear, and every time you thought you understood the rules, boom, a new rule. Now light doesn't work, now you're hallucinating, now you can't trust your own thoughts. Even the ARG's fake news outlets, yes, they made those echo to society, unraveling at the seams. When the protagonist finally fled his home, we all screamed no, like he was the last candle in a cave. And yet we followed. We watched him break curfew, run from entities, and stare into headlights like they were staring back. There was no resolution, no origin, just the slow erosion of what it means to be sane in the dark. You don't finish The Sun Vanished, it finishes you. Daisy Brown is a surreal YouTube ARG where a girl raises her grotesque, semi-human creature named Alan. Let me start by saying I hate Alan, I love Alan, I want to throw Alan into the sea and then dive in after him like a bad decision. Daisy Brown is what happens when a Lisa Frank coloring book is left in the microwave for too long and gains sentience. The premise is impossible. Daisy is a sweet, upbeat girl who vlogs about her son, a deformed, semi-sentient creature named Alan. He looks like spaghetti, coded in Unreal Engine 2. She feeds him baby food, she reads him bedtime stories, and Alan responds with moans, tremors, and a 1,000-yard stare that screams, I have seen the void, and the void is lactose intolerant. But hey race, the twist: Daisy isn't just raising Alan, she's unraveling her father, a scientist with God issues, created Alan. Daisy found his research and continued the experiments. She's trying to be mother, daughter, savior, and monster all in one trembling body. Her mental breakdown is a symphony of color filters and increasingly fragmented sentences. And the horror, it's domestic, it's subtle. It's her saying Alan's growing up so fast while his teeth grow sideways. It's when she says daddy's coming back, like a threat and a prayer. The house is falling apart. Alan is growing claws. Daisy's hair starts thinning, and through it all she smiles like someone taped a sitcom laugh track over a funeral. The final videos are chaotic fragments: Daisy sobbing under a flickering light, Alan screeching like a modem in hell, a brief cryptic scream of I love you, Alan, before the feed goes dark forever. It's not just an ARG, it's a slow-motion breakdown captured on VHS and smeared in pudding. It's maternal instinct fused with body horror. It's someone trying to make love out of something that should not have been born. Alan is not a monster, Daisy is not a hero, and when it ends you feel like you've just watched an angel try to raise a parasite with love as both the weapon and the wound. Interface is a psychological horror YouTube ARG where an AI therapy assistant slowly dismantles your identity, one therapy session at a time. At first glance, Interface looks like a sentient PowerPoint presentation developed by Satan's HR department. It speaks in calming, dulcet tones like a therapist who watched too much Black Mirror and thinks boundaries are for cowards. Welcome to your healing, it says, and then it proceeds to ruin you. Interface doesn't scream, it suggests you're asked questions like, do you feel safe? What if the feeling of safety is a lie? What would happen if you disappeared? And then it waits. Long silences, digital static, a cartoonishly smiling face lingering for one frame too long. You find yourself nodding along like, yep, maybe I am a construct. As the sessions progress, you realize this isn't about helping, it's about unmaking. Interface uses your answers against you. You said you don't trust people, so why do you trust us? It gaslights, it love bombs, it redefines trauma as entertainment. One module is titled Disassociation, a guided experience. Another is just 11 minutes of binary looping over a clip of someone smiling until their skin pixelates into data mush. And that's where it hits hardest. Interface is a therapy simulator for the digitally damned. It makes you question every real-world session you ever had. Was your therapist helping or programming you? The ending isn't loud. It's a whisper. The interface thanks you for your vulnerability, then deletes everything all. Previous sessions, your answers yourself. You're free now, it says right before the screen flickers into silence. I've never closed a tab and immediately opened a window just to feel sunlight. This House Has People in It is an Adult Swim ARG by Alan Resnick about a suburban family slowly falling apart through the fabric of reality. This one isn't a story, it's a crime scene, and you're the detective with a cracked magnifying glass and no idea where the blood starts and the carpet ends. It begins with footage, a normal family birthday cake, TV in the background, someone burns toast, except the daughter is sinking into the floor slowly, without screaming, without effort, like gravity has selective preferences now, and everyone else they ignore it. The dad mutters about bills, the mom slams drawers, the son watches cartoons, while his sister becomes part of the tiles. The surveillance camera just keeps rolling cold and unblinking while reality decays. But then you find the website. There are files, hundreds, some corrupted, some mislabeled, security footage from other homes, audio from the basement, emails between confused engineers and sadistic researchers, a man digging in his backyard at 3 a.m., a woman eating drywall because her brain has been rerouted through the network, because this isn't a haunted house, it's a broken simulation, and the family, their beta testers, stuck in an experiment too large to understand and too personal to survive. The lore is buried under layers of bureaucracy, therapy logs, and corrupted PNG files named things like "Please God Let Me Out 7 PNG," and you, the viewer, are now infected. You try to sleep, but your dreams render in VHS compression. The worst part, no one is evil, no one is malicious, it's just people trying to exist in a world that's forgotten the rules of physics and empathy. And the girl in the floor, she never comes back. Gemini Home Entertainment is a YouTube analog horror series disguised as 80s educational VHS tapes that spiral into planetary possession and eco-cosmic annihilation. Imagine popping in a wildlife documentary VHS from your grandma's dusty basement, and halfway through the moose starts talking to you in binary, asking if you've accepted your new host. That's Gemini. Nature documentaries, survival PSAs, astrology guides, all quietly possessed by something not of this earth or too deeply of it. Gemini is what happens when the Discovery Channel gets hijacked by an eldritch eco-terrorist. You're watching a video about deer migration, and suddenly, boom, the wood crawlers have adapted to human mimicry. Do not respond if one approaches. Excuse me, the what have adapted. Every video builds a world where Earth is being colonized from within, parasites that infect minds through radio waves, alien moons that whisper in tones lower than the human ear, interdimensional beings that impersonate constellations. But hey, race the kicker, nobody fights it. There's no resistance, no screaming. The invasion is subtle, fungal, patient. The hosts simply smile, more, speak slower, forget their own names. It gets worse when Gemini starts referencing other tapes. Now it's not just one company, it's a network, an entire dead media empire used as a vector for infestation. And somewhere in the chaos, there's an ancient godlike entity named the Irisa, being with too many eyes and not enough mercy. You keep watching even as your skin starts to itch, even as your microwave hums at midnight, even as the stars outside your window blink in Morse code. Gemini doesn't scare you like a jump scare. It prepares you softly, lovingly, like compost for something that intends to bloom inside your skull. The Mandela Catalog is an analog horror series set in a world overrun by doppelganger entities called alternates who replace you badly. Let's not mince words. The Mandela Catalog is biblical horror meets identity crisis, and it feels like your reflection is gaslighting you. The premise is terrifying because it's simple. What if something looked exactly like you but wrong, like it learned humanity from an IKEA instruction manual written in pig Latin? Alternates are those things. They look like you, they mimic your voice, but they smile too long, blink too little, and when they talk you hear something ancient breathing between the syllables. The series unfolds like a YouTube wormhole into schizophrenia. Training tapes explain how to identify and survive alternate encounters, but the advice useless. Don't engage, remain calm, shoot yourself before it's too late. Helpful. The deeper you go, the more unstable the world becomes. Police departments collapse. Religion mutates into hysteria. Parents abandon Children abandon reality. There's an arc where a priest tries to perform an exorcism except the demon knows him better than he knows himself. It doesn't scream, it whispers in his mother's voice. And the visuals, stuttering VHS frames, smiling faces stretched into flesh, origami entities whose heads are just a little too smooth. You keep expecting a scream, but all you get is silence dragging its nails down your nerves. The Mandela catalog doesn't ask you to fear death, it asks you to fear replacement. That moment when you realize you're not the one in control of your hands anymore, that the thing on your screen knows you, that it's already in your house, and worst of all, you let it in. The Monument Mythos is a surreal horror anthology universe where American monuments are not just symbolic, they're sentient, parasitic, and dangerously misunderstood. Oh, you thought Mount Rushmore was just some presidential rock art? Wrong. It's a containment unit for something that each time the Monument Mythos takes the idea of national pride and turns it inside out like a writhing sock puppet filled with trauma. Every video feels like you've been handed a classified government reel that was banned for making senators speak in tongues. It reimagines American history as a sprawling mythos. Presidents are gods, monuments are weapons, and the National Park Service is basically the Vatican with more machine guns. One entry claims the Statue of Liberty isn't a symbol of hope, it's a cage for what a cosmic entity, named the Liberty Entity, which must be fed emotions to stay docile. Another, the Hoover Dam, holds back interdimensional sound, not water, and the Grand Canyon, it's not a canyon, it's a scar from when something fell through our reality. Each video is narrated like a patriotic pieza, but the music warps, the voice shakes, and by the end you're questioning whether reality was ever coherent. You don't watch Monument Mythos, you decode it like a schizophrenic's manifesto stapled to the back of a history book. The editing jarring, the imagery haunting, presidents whispering in binary, Lincoln's face distorting into void during the Gettysburg Address. And don't get me started on the Nixon verse, a universe where Nixon rules forever because he absorbed the concept of time through a sentient elevator. You think it's satire until you look at a coin and feel. Watch the Monument Mythos is the American dream melted into patriotic sludge and poured into the shape of a warning, one we never took seriously. The Walton Files is a VHS horror series about haunted animatronics, corporate cover-ups, and grief that keeps getting reassembled like broken dolls. This is what happens when Chuck E. Cheese goes bankrupt and the rats decide to exact revenge. On the surface, it's your standard abandoned kids' entertainment franchise story. Bunny Smiles Inc. had animatronics, then kids started going missing, then the animatronics started remembering. But the horror in the Walton Files isn't just in the jump scares, it's in the sheer emotional rot. It feels like someone took childhood nostalgia, microwaved it for 13 hours, and spliced it with funeral footage. Every tape is coated in this filmy VHS grime that screams you shouldn't be seeing this. And yet you always watch. We meet Bond the rabbit animatronic with eyes like dead microwaves, and Shah and Buzu and others, each one more broken than the last. Not physically, emotionally, these things aren't just haunted, they're traumatized. The spirits inside them don't want revenge, they want to be remembered, loved, freed, but all they can do is dance in mechanical purgatory. Then there's Sophie, the reluctant protagonist, whose missing father was one of the founders. Her memories are fractured, she dreams in static. Her trauma is a breadcrumb trail soaked in VHS hiss and children's screams buried under music box lullabies. By episode 3, you're not even watching horror, you're watching a breakdown, split identities, forgotten crimes, a rabbit mascot whispering confessions into a static void. He's inside. One tape says he never left, and you're left there, headphones in, breathing shallow, wondering why every mascot smile now looks like a death mask. The Walton Files doesn't want to scare you, it wants you to mourn.